Hello YouTubers, we're on an all-new My Favorite segment, and Avengers Infinity War has been released in cinemas, and it was amazing. So in honor of Infinity War, I decided to re-rank my personal favorite Marvel Studio films. This will be my personal opinion and my top 10 favorite MCU films. If there's a movie I did not mention, or if your list is different, feel free to comment down below on your personal favorite Marvel Studio films. You can also check out my Avengers Infinity War review. I have a non-spoiler one on my channel, and a spoiler talk on my other channel. You can check those out in the links below. And if you haven't already, check out the Stardust app. It's an app where you can post your reactions and reviews to your favorite television shows or films. If you don't have an account, feel free to download the app, iOS, Android, whatever. Download it and follow me at Fred Film Fanatic. Starting the list at number 10 is Thor. Thor came out in 2011, is directed by Kenneth Branagh. Yeah, Loveless from Wild Wild West. But Chris Hemsworth is introduced as Thor. And yeah, this was actually a pretty good film. As a standalone film, it was right after Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, and Iron Man 2. I like Thor's relationship with Natalie Portman, their romance in the film, but I also like that this is a journey of somebody who doesn't know what power he has. He's very spoiled at the beginning. And we also have Tom Hiddleston as his brother Loki. He is one of the most sympathetic villains. We really get to side with him. He finds out that he's not the true heir to Asgard. He's Odin's son, alright, but it's not really a part of the family like Thor is. And that goes to jealousy and just power. And it goes to his head. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful origin for Thor. And he's kind of like a fish out of water. He's in a walkabout. He gets banished. He doesn't have the power to lift the hammer. He's not worthy. So he has to go through his own hero's journey. And yeah, there's some different bad guys they fight against, but ultimately Loki is the main villain. It was a good introduction to the world of Thor, to Asgard, and it still very much felt like that Norse mythology from the comics before it kind of got into a sci-fi fantasy type of atmosphere in the sequels. I really liked the first Thor, and they even pay homage to his look in the comics in some way. The visuals are really well done, and yeah, it was a good introduction to Thor and ultimately Loki, who would return in many films, including the Avengers. Number 9 on my list is Black Panther. Black Panther is a movement, so to speak, but I think it's a little bit overrated. But I do like Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther, the King of Wakanda. And what really makes this film is the villain, played by Michael B. Jordan. Killmonger. Such a fantastic villain. I love his motivation, his backstory. It's very tragic. It's very Shakespearean. And maybe it's because The Lion King was a bit based on Hamlet. It definitely has that Shakespearean vibe. I love the tribe fights to get the throne of the king. And I ultimately like how he has to take back his kingdom. And again, it's another lesson of learning how to be a king, learning how to be a leader of these people, learning how to be a hero. He already very much was a hero in Captain America Civil War, but here, he really gets to learn what it means to be king after the death of his father and somebody else challenging the throne, betrayal, everything like that. I also like Angela Bassett's performance and the female leads. Very well done. Soundtrack. The album is a pretty dope album. I love Pray For Me with Kendrick Lamar in The Weeknd. Such a wonderful song. I liked how it was used in the casino part when they go to Korea. That was very much kind of like Skyfall and Matrix Reloaded. It does have some very well done action sequences, and I do like Andy Serkis. However, it just is a bit slow at times, a bit repetitive, and some of the views of oppression I feel are kind of narrow, and because of that I think it's a bit overrated. I don't think it's the best Marvel movie, but it definitely is in the top 10 and among one of my favorites. I just think it's one of those films that's good, it's not bad, but I know it could have been better. But Ryan Coogler did a great job. I liked his work in Creed, Fruitvale Station, and this was a solid entry into the Black Panther universe, into Wakanda, that eventually goes into Infinity War, and we'll have to see where it goes next. Number 8 on my list is Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is another film that I thought was a bit overrated, but what made this special is that it was a comedy, and it kind of had like a space opera feel. Imagine like a bit of Firefly with Star Wars, and a little bit of Flash Gordon and the Marvel humor. I liked the beginning, even though the acting was a bit bad. I didn't really feel sympathy, even though it was sad that he lost his mother. I don't know. The film really picks up when it fast forwards a couple of years and we see Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt. And I like how all these misfits basically meet. They cross paths. They're all criminals and just outsiders in a way. and they make the perfect team. And then we have introduction of Thanos after the Avengers. After credit scene, we have Thanos shown, so it's starting to build the blocks that lead to Infinity War. The Collector, and I like the story. The only weak part about this film is the villain. Unlike Black Panther and Thor, it has a really weak villain. Ronan is just lame. I'm sorry. He may be even more lame than the Mandarin, the fake Mandarin, because, I mean, he lost by a dance-off. I mean, I know there's more to it than that, but I like the bounty hunter characters, and I also like Rocket the Raccoon. Rocket the Raccoon and Groot make this film. Overall, Guardians of the Galaxy is a fun time. It's not among my favorites, but it's very enjoyable for what it is, and I think this one, unlike Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, had a better narrative flow to it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was good, just didn't know it was Guardians of the Galaxy until like the last 40 minutes. It was very just kind of random, where this one had a better flow to it, the way it went, and I love the humor and the interactions between all the characters. After that, at number 7 is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a pleasant surprise. I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, and again, much like Iron Man and Thor, he goes through that hero's journey. He's really just kind of like self-absorbed and just arrogant at the beginning as Dr. Stephen Strange. I like him and Rachel McAdams' relationship when he has to go through that car accident. And it's very much a journey about what it means to be a hero, and not only that, what it means to use your gifts and powers for the greater good. Like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And it very much has that kind of Batman Begins and the Shadow vibe, you know, from 1994 with the monks. I like all the magic stuff here. Again, a very different Marvel film. Perhaps not as dark as the comic books, but still a solid movie. I even like the allies he has and how one of them may be an enemy in the near future. Mads Mikkelsen does a good job as the villain. Of course, I liked him as Le Chiffre in Casino Royale, but here he plays a very different type of villain, and the fact that he used to be like Doctor Strange before turning bad makes it a lot more interesting. The only weakness of this film is that it's very strong, and then halfway through decides to basically turn to jokes and that Marvel humor, and I just don't like that. That's the only thing that's keeping these film downs in Marvels, is that they have an excessive amount of jokes that feels like it's for kids. Now, I know it's like based on a comic book, but these are capable of being much better movies. I do like the cape. That's a character unto itself, much like the rug in Aladdin or something, but I like the story. It has a strong story, great visuals, very much like Inception on steroids, but I really enjoyed this film and Benedict Cumberbatch's performance. And who could forget, Dormammu, I've come to bargain! And he's like doing that over and over and over with the time stone. Such a great sequence. And yeah, it's a solid entry as a standalone film, and it doesn't depend too heavily on the Avengers or its universe. Even though the after credits does have Thor, it's an enjoyable film. Number 6 is The Avengers from 2012. Now, this is a film we all were waiting for since Nick Fury met with Tony Stark at the end of Iron Man when he talked to him about the Avengers Initiative. The only thing that was kind of rough was the previous films. They all were kind of forced to lead into Avengers, and because of that, it just felt kind of a little shoot-in, you know? It felt a little forced, but you have Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and Mark Ruffalo instead of Ed Norton as the Hulk. Josh Whedon wrote and directed this, as well as Zach Penn helping write the script. I like this. Alan Silvestri's score, and it's Loki with the Chitauri army. There's a Tesseract, one of the Infinity Stones, and it sets up this world of the Avengers Initiative. Nick Fury has to basically get all the heroes together. Now, I thought this film was a bit overrated, but it's still a good film. It's an important film because it was the first film to have all these heroes joined together as a team. It had the perfect amount of like seriousness and jokes without feeling like it was too dark or too light. It was that perfect kind of fun blend, I would say. It's just some of the effects I thought were just a little bit too computerized, but other than that, and some of the fighting, I did like the character moments, how Thor was joking, saying that like he's adopted, and then Captain America talking to Iron Man is like, "What are you? Iron suit, take that away. What are you?" And he's just like billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. So it was interesting seeing all these characters interact with each other for the first time. Above all, not the best film ever, but The Avengers is an important film, and hey, it got the ball rolling with team films and the shared universe. It showed you that, yeah, this can work. Number 5 is The Incredible Hulk. I actually really like this film. It's a very underrated film. It's a reboot slash kind of like sequel. It kind of takes place after the Eric Bana Hulk, but it doesn't. It's kind of like a reboot slash sequel. Ed Norton is Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. It's before he had Mark Ruffalo. And yeah, this is right after Iron Man. He even has an after credits scene, but I like this. It's pretty much Hulk on the run, and it's almost like a retread of the first one, but we have Liv Tyler and William Hurt as the Rosses. And the Incredible Hulk looks really cool. In a way, it's a blend of the comics and the 1970s television series. I like Tim Roth as a villain, before and after when he gets turned into the Abomination. Who could forget that final fight? Yeah, that was a pretty awesome final fight. And that part where he's just like, Hulk smash! I love that. The effects were actually very well done and still hold up pretty well. Stan Lee has a funny cameo. And yeah, it's pretty much of like on the run road movie with like a Hulk film. I also like the part where he jumps out of the helicopter and he thinks he's gonna transform. He's just like, oh shit! I love that moment. And at the end, he learns how to control his anger. Above all, this is before the world of Avengers and the other Marvel films, and I also like it because before Disney bought out Marvel Studios, and it still felt very serious and grounded in reality, much like the best Marvel comics. I love The Incredible Hulk, and I may be in the minority, but it's among one of my top 5 favorites. It really is. I still like this film a lot. Number 4 is Captain America Civil War. The Russos are at it again, and yeah, this is pretty much Captain America 3, Iron Man 4, and Avengers 2.5, but I love this because it's kind of a watered-down version of the Civil War storyline in the comics. But what I love about it is that both sides are right, no side is wrong, and there's great themes of vengeance. We get the Black Panther introduced, the whole part with the Winter Soldier Bucky, his backstory and how it connects to Tony Stark is just really emotionally heavy. The action sequences are very well done. And yeah, it ultimately brings up the question, hey, these heroes are fighting bad guys. They're destroying property. They're putting people in harm's way. They're trying to save people, but sometimes there are casualties in this war. And what are the consequences of that? Such a great question, and really continues the themes of Captain America Winter Soldier here. It's sad with Peggy Carter's funeral. You have her niece there, but yeah, Captain America Civil War is great. It kind of stops in the airport battle and becomes kind of filled with jokes, but I like the airport battle. Ant-Man, Spider-Man is introduced, and I actually think Black Panther and Spider-Man are stronger in this film than their solo films, but that's just me. I really like their moments. Every character gets their moment to shine, and high stakes that ultimately have consequences and ramifications on the Marvel Universe onward. Number 3 is Captain America the Winter Soldier. This sequel surprised me. The first Avenger I thought was an okay film, kind of had a Sky Captain World of Tomorrow vibe. But this one, the Russo brothers, if you told me that the guys who did You, Me, and Dupree would direct and film this awesome, I would have been like, yeah, right. It takes Captain America's values and ideals and puts it into a post-terror 9/11 world. And I love that. It's like, how does a guy like that from World War II function where the good guys pretty much use fear and terror against the enemy? What is freedom? And there's questions like that. And, of course, the great twist of Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D., which we got hints of in the previous film, but I love Robert Redford as the villain. An actor of his caliber, I knew he either had to be a hero or a villain, because you don't get somebody like him to be in a film like this, and he gives it a lot of gravitas. Nick Fury is great in this. There's some really heavy moments. I like Black Widow and Captain America working together. And ultimately, the revelation of the Winter Soldier being Bucky and how it connects to the first film. And how they're both were just kind of lost through time. Such a great film of ultimately doing the right thing. What happens when your allies are enemies. And things of that nature. I also like the Falcon. Anthony Mackie as the Falcon was a very cool sidekick. I like the technology he uses. Above all, Winter Soldier is among one of the best Marvel films and probably like the best sequel, I would say. This and Civil War are up there, but Winter Soldier I just enjoy a bit more. Number 2 on my list is Avengers Infinity War. This was actually almost number 1. It's just the way it ends. It kind of cliffhangs and there's no closure. So because of that, it's a little bit lower. But this is a near damn perfect film. It really is. The stakes are high. Thanos, Josh Brolin as Thanos is phenomenal and is the first real threat of the Marvel Universe. I love how all the characters from all the films interact and work together. Even though they're kind of separated throughout the film, I love how they blend all the different genres and look and feel of each character, of each world. And it's very much like a bigger version of the first Avengers when they all crossed over. And it's a nice love letter and culmination to the past 10 years so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really like this movie. I'm not going to go too much into spoilers because I don't know if y'all have seen it or not, but yeah. It leaves you breathless at the end. Stuff happens and you're just like, wow. But the villain is sympathetic and you understand his motivations, and that's what makes it more crazy, but there's certain moments that get to you. There's one particular emotional moment that I like with Tony Stark and Spider-Man. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. That part is the part that got me the most emotional. I like Thor, how he comes back, Captain America's new look, the battle in Wakanda, stuff like that. The only thing that kind of I don't like is the pacing, a little bit excessive jokes, and Hulk not being able to Hulk out. Like, I'm like, why is he having performance issues? Just smash. It's an awesome film, and yeah, I hope more Marvel films are like this one. Really, really high stakes, emotional, and just epic in every way possible. Number one is still Iron Man. I love Iron Man. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but for me personally, this is my favorite Marvel movie still. I fell in love with it in 2008, almost 10 years ago. And yeah, I just love Iron Man. It's a perfect origin movie. One of the best origin movies ever. Tony Stark makes weapons. He gets kidnapped by terrorists. And he realizes that his weapons are being put to basically kill people and put them in harm's way. What does he do? He decides to do something about it. Heroes aren't born, they're built, they're made, and he makes himself into Iron Man. I love this story. This whole, from him getting kidnapped to him making the Iron Man suit to him actually saving people, all the way to the end. Pepper Potts' relationship with him, Terrence Howard as Rhodey, I liked him better as Rhodey than Don Cheadle, and Jeff Bridges as a bad guy. He ends up turning to Ironmonger. And it's sad that it never really fully went into the Mandarin. They could have easily done that with the terrorist organization that kidnapped him, but I like this film a lot. This is the film that started it all. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. The way that Chris Evans is Captain America or Christopher Reeve is Superman. He just is the character, and I can't imagine anybody else but him playing Tony Stark. And who could forget that ending where he just decides to skip the bullshit, throw the cue cards, and it's just like, you're right, I am Iron Man. Such a perfect ending. And Jon Favreau should really be thanked for putting the after credit scene there of the Avengers Initiative. I love this film, and to me, it's my most favorite Marvel film. Still to this date, 10 years later, there's a lot more films with better effects, more action, more jokes, more heroes, bigger, louder, maybe better, but I don't like them as much as Iron Man. It has a special place in my heart still. So those are my favorite Marvel Studio films. Feel free in the comments below. Let me know your favorites, from least favorite to most favorite. I know it's probably going to be different than mine, but feel free to share them in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Avengers Infinity War review, and also follow me on the Stardust app. You can follow me on Fred Film Fanatic. Till next time.